Howdy, friends. This is Adam Ganser stopping by just to thank you so much for listening to us and all of our precious projects on the Small Beans Patreon. And if you have a couple extra bucks and haven't signed up for our $5 tier, I wanted to let you know there is some of the best entertainment anywhere on the internet just waiting for your listening pleasure. This includes episodes of I'll Show You Mine If You Show Me Yours, Spiel Boys, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and coming soon some very secret but very awesome projects we can't wait to show you. If you got the money and you feel like it, we'd sure love to have it. And thanks so much for listening to Small Beans.
It's time for dads now. Look, it's all about dads. I don't want you talking about anything but dads, 'cause it's all dads now. Yeah, it's inside dad. Ooh, you're back.
Woo-hoo.
It's inside dads. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Oh my.
So, if you're here, welcome. First off,
Welcome.
glad to see you. You look beautiful.
You do, it's true.
And I'm Abe Epperson, if you like that. And I'm here with Dave Bell. Dave.
Hi. Hi.
And we're here to get inside dads.
Crawling inside, creeping in the dads.
That's the name of the show. And you know what it is. And if you don't, this is a podcast we talk about dad movies. Dave and I just can't get enough of those sweet, sweet Russell Crowe's, Bruce Willis's, Kevin's Costner's,
Yep.
Harrison Ford, shit like that.
Oh yeah.
And
Perhaps a Tom Sizemore will show up.
perhaps a Val Kilmer. We love it. We love that dad shit. We think it's so awesome. And we think it's not just a genre, that it transcends genre.
Yeah.
And basically the gist of this is that Hollywood has been telling us for decades what it means to be dads, and dads eat that shit up. So what's the nature of the Hollywood dad? What does culture say to itself? This is what it means to be a dad. And to do that, we need to get inside this dad.
Yeah, we do.
What movie are we covering, Dave?
We're covering Heat.
Ooh, 1995's Heat.
Yeah, 1995 Michael Mann film Heat. Right away, the director makes dad films. Michael Mann is a dad film director. I'm gonna go ahead and say, because when it comes to genre, now we kind of said this was a heist film. I think this should be bank robbery / crime.
This is kind of a crime genre, yeah.
Yeah, because heist is a different beast, and this isn't a heist movie. It's not how are we gonna get in. There's none of that. This is, of course, known for its shootout scene, which is objectively very good. This movie, what struck me this time watching it, because I hadn't seen it for a while, has, I believe, every actor who has ever existed in it.
Yeah.
It headlined Pacino versus De Niro. Then there's Tom Sizemore and Kilmer. Val Kilmer. Then fucking Ashley Judd, who I would argue is dad film royalty because she is in dad films. Ted Levine, Natalie
John
Portman,
Voight.
yeah, Tom Noonan, Hank Azaria, William Fichtner,
Danny Trejo.
Danny Trejo, who clearly doesn't hang out with the rest. I was like, you guys don't hang out. He's never in like the hangout scenes. And it's like, yeah, of course he'll betray you. He's born to die in this movie. I was like, shit, Danny Trejo. His name is Trejo. And they're like, you didn't even give him a name. The guy from the Little Green Men episode of The X-Files, who is also the guy, I believe, with the headphones on in The Lost World. Henry Rollins.
Rollins
when
is in this.
Jeremy fucking Piven showed up as Scum Doctor, I was like, can you outdo this? And the Millman was like, yes, we can. Here's Xander Berkeley. It's like, the other guy is Xander Berkeley.
Bud Cort.
The most
is in
lovable
this.
dick. Bud Cort in one scene. It was just like, movie, calm down. You don't need all these that guys in it. It's all the that guys.
You don't need 30 to 40 something year old white dudes in the 90s.
It doesn't stop. And so, like, that was incredible. To see fucking Henry Rollins show up, it's just like, oh
Just
my
like,
God.
What?
What
Like,
is
are you just
happening?
all at a party? Are you just
Yeah.
convening
Where they're
at
like,
bowling night?
Yeah, they're like,
And
let's
this is
make a
just-
movie.
Let's make a movie? Is this what you do,
Yeah.
Michael Mann? I don't know.
Jesus
But
fucking Christ.
this is the first daddy movie on the list that's mostly preoccupied with punishing daddies.
Yes, this is a tragic dad story. It's cops and robbers, which is very dad. It's you could argue it first seems like a dad film in that it's a film that dads watch, you know? They're like,
yeah.
Heat, great, best shootout, you know? And it's also, you know, film nerds, film college bros, I feel like is, you know, in that circle. But it is really daddy because when we covered 310 to Yuma, I mentioned this. It really is about the job dad versus family dad and the tragedy of a dad who has to work for a
How
living.
can we solve this dilemma?
Because a dad provides, but at what cost? Because
But at
you don't
what
want to.
cost?
Yeah, you don't want to be like, you know, this is what that '90s Fight Club era, American Beauty was all about. It's like, I don't want to be a cog in the machine. I'm a daddy. Which Fight Club is a very daddy film, I would argue.
That's a quote from Fight Club.
Unfortunately, so is American Beauty. But it's from that era of like Boomer Gen X was on top of the world financially, and they hated it. They're like, I don't want to work in a cubicle all day. So like, there's that side where it's if you're going to be a job dad, you want to be the daddy, you want to be the boss. But if you're going to be the boss, you can't be family dad. You gotta sacrifice that.
The price of job dad.
Exactly. So it's like, are you going to be a sniveling little cog in the machine and a great family dad? Or are you going to be, or can you balance it? And this movie contends, no, you can't. You have to pick one.
Yeah. And
And-
it's just going to be punishment for people who think that you can't.
Yes. And so what we're seeing is two competing dads for those two competing philosophies. We have Al Pacino. He is cop dad. And Robert De Niro, who's crime dad.
I would argue that they have the same philosophy.
That's the thing. Is the movie's about it's a dad tragedy, but dad.
Yeah.
Because they both kind of ruin their family dad, and they do this. You know, not to skip ahead, but De Niro almost picks family. He's a man. So
He had it all.
I don't want to get. Yeah, I guess I'll just talk about it now. Al Pacino's trying to have both, right? He thinks he can be family dad and cop dad. De Niro starts in a place where he doesn't have a family. And he looks at all his other buddies who are family and crime dads, and they all get punished. They all lose, right? For trying to have both. Basically, everybody who tries to have both loses. And De Niro loses at the end for he almost picks one. He almost says, I'm done with being job dad, but then he's like, I can be both. And that's his downfall. So that's essentially, yeah.
Those are the two characters pretty rolled up. Yep.
Yeah.
For sure. And that is it's a good place as any to kind of start at the beginning here, because we want to see where our protagonists start.
Yes.
And as our criminals kind of prepare at the beginning of the movie, we don't really know what for yet, but we get a montage of Val Kilmer and De Niro clearly tooling up, and bam!
I have to rewind.
Yeah.
We start with a train or a dick.
Oh yeah.
A
That's
big
true.
long dick that De
I mean,
Niro comes up.
There's so many machines in this.
Yeah, and then
movie.
an arrow pointing up in the road, a big erect arrow. And then Val Kilmer at a hardware store. Dads love those.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then, yes, Al Pacino, what is he doing? What is he doing when we first meet Al Pacino?
Oh, just saucy sex scene full of lips.
His dick works.
He's your fuck beast,
Literally,
Al Pacino.
Yeah, first thing we know about him is he fucks. That's the first thing we learn.
And he's showering after, and she's satisfied.
He could be good or bad. We don't know. He fucks.
He fucks. It's so saucy. And it turns out he's a cop. She's a wife. Natalie Portman is a stepdaughter. And
Yeah.
guess what, Dave? as you said, he's too busy with work to hang out. That's
Right.
the first scene.
The first conflict is other dad's going to get here and I won't be ready. That's the first conflict. And that scene is the bad dad. So it's like, oh, is Pacino going to be the good dad? But he's not. He is refusing that call to adventure. He's like, she's not my daughter. So he doesn't say that, but he's just like, he's
I'm
indifferent.
provisional dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. We get our first heist.
Big
And
tow truck with Tom
robbing
Sizemore.
bearer bonds from an armored car.
Yep.
It's pretty sweet.
Sizemore calls the guy Slick, which is such a dad thing to call somebody.
Sport. Champ.
Yep. And he says to him specifically, the guy's talking and he says, "Stop talking, okay, Slick?
Ooh.
Shut your mouth. Dads don't like talking. Be quiet."
They like doing.
They're like, "Do
They
it."
like. They don't like talking.
And in
They
fact,
like kissing.
a cop dies because he opens his mouth.
Yeah.
Don't talk.
Well, he kind of just looks at him funny for the most part, but we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
The newly hired gun is what I'm talking about. Kills the guard for
No reason.
those reasons.
Yeah.
No reasons really.
Well, yeah, the guard does speak, I forget exactly. Like he
At
kills
the,
the guy,
yeah, at the
and
end he answers the question, but at start he's just like looking at him weird.
yeah, and it's clear that this guy broke the rules by doing this.
You're right. You don't just murder people.
Nope.
That's not against the daddy code.
Yeah, we got to have rules.
But
they also blow up a truck, an ambulance.
But the gang has to kill 2 other guards just to cover it up because, yes, it's against the dad code to murder. But when it's necessary, violence does happen.
They're crime
and De
dads.
Niro is a crime dad. And so he's real pissed about it. And he's, a little later in the movie, he's going to try to kill this new hire for being evil.
Yep. It's 310 to Yuma, right? Where it's like
Right.
they are bad guys, but they have a code. And it's like, yeah, you kill the cops. You don't kill innocents. And people who dare deal with that, mess with that
Break
code
the
will
code,
be
yeah.
punished. This happens throughout the film. And so it's cops and robbers, part of the greater system that they have to respect with rules. And again,
Right.
like 310 to Yuma, something explodes in the first 10 minutes. Not a horse this time. It's an ambulance, which I would argue is it's kind of like the horse of cars.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
Yeah,
I'm
no
not gonna
follow-up
refute
questions.
that. No, I got nothing. I think you're just nailing it, dude.
All right.
But I think one important part of that is that they're using untraceable homemade bombs from like gallon milk containers.
Yeah.
Because I think that's important for us to, in our mind as the viewer, it's a scrappy but well-run enterprise.
Exactly.
You know?
They're smart.
They're smart. They're using guile, and it's much to the frustration of the other dad, Pacino, who's trying to chase them throughout the movie. We also have the scene with John Voight,
Who's this
–
amazing scumbag hair?
Just-
Not in real life, but like in the facial hair. The way they dressed him and the way they did his hair, it was just like, oh my god, what an
It's just
amazingly
Miami Vice.
yeah. It's like on par with him in Anaconda, where he's just so repellent looking.
we just get all dads of all kinds in this movie.
Yeah.
This movie also has top tier pointing. This is just an aside that I wrote down. I counted at least 5 times that someone just points at something
yeah,
in the
real
movie,
pointing,
like let's
yeah.
go or check over there or
Yeah.
I'm giving you an order. It's just it's very like you have to
Lot of
watch the
pointing.
tone of it is very much just like, yeah, we're all cool and like good at our jobs and all
Yeah.
I need to do is give you a look or point and you know what to do. Bam! Fucking it.
Got
Al
a point.
Pacino.
Al Pacino points with his voice too.
Yeah.
Whenever he points at you every time he talks. I think they established John Voight that the people they steal from, they don't take the cash. They're robbing from the rich. They're taking like stock bullshit. It's again, they're not petty thieves. As De Niro says later, like I'm not knocking off a 7-Eleven with a Born to Lose tattoo, which I love that line. He's not, that's crime is beneath them. They're doing like fucking high profile, good robberies. They're robbing from rich people. And he says it later. We're taking from the bank. We're not taking your money. We're good. We're good robbers.
Yeah, let's
We have a
endear
code.
the robbery. Yeah, it's once again that moral grayness.
Yep.
Back at the crime scene of the armored car, I love Al Pacino's swagger during the scene.
He's a fuck cop.
He's really, Tommy Lee Jones in The Fugitive Energy.
I wrote that too, because he goes around and he's like, they're smart. Also, I'm smart. I'm going to deduct. I'm got guile. I'm clever. I'm going to deduct. I think we haven't talked about this enough, is that dad films, we haven't really touched upon this, but dad films love it when they deduce stuff. When a guy walks into the room and says like, "Ooh,
Sherlock Holmes shit.
when they Sherlock Holmes it, where they go like, "I know what you had for breakfast because of this and that and the other thing, and I know what that
so
means
smart.
because I'm so smart." And everybody is gasping, but I'm also rude and I speak firmly.
I'm rude. I'm a rude guy,
Yeah.
but also super smart. That's true. It's so true.
Yeah, and that's what this is.
I love the point of the scene, however, is that Pacino respects De Niro's work. He's like, drop a hat. These guys are ready to rock and roll.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
He's like, these guys are so good. It's going to be so hard to find them. Oh my God, you guys.
Yeah.
And that's that scene.
Yeah. And so the cops are having their debriefing, and then we see De Niro, who's like, "Let's go out to dinner. We did a crime. Let's have dinner together." And they basically, it's like, what went right, what went wrong. Let's talk about our strengths and weaknesses. Let's go over the robbery. And that's where we punish the guy who fucked up.
Yeah.
He bangs him on the table. This other daddy looks at him, and Tom Sizemore gives him a real Tom Sizemore look. And the guy's like, "I didn't see nothing," and just like goes back because it's a code where he's like, "That guy must have fucked up. I'm not going to get involved. I keep my mouth shut.
Piece of shit.
I'm quiet. I'm a daddy. I don't even talk." Like the other guy who sees it, he doesn't even say anything. He just looks back down.
Mm-hmm.
So respectful.
They take him into the parking lot, and he escapes when the cops. This is, just a little foreshadowing.
Squirms
the
away.
Cops have nothing to do with what's happening in the parking lot. They're just, they drive by and then they get a call and they leave. But that's enough time for the guy that we learn who's not just a piece of shit and who doesn't obey the code, but later we learn he's also a Nazi.
So,
he escapes.
Oh, yeah. And something about this scene, it just occurred to me. And I'm wondering if this is a through line. So they line the trunk with plastic. And that's the universal sign for, oh, they're going to kill me. Mm-hmm. But that also means they don't want to get the trunk messy. And I was thinking about 310 to Yuma with the horse stuff, stealing the horse, but giving it back. The judge with the car stuff, only I drive my car. Is there reverence for vehicles that we're missing out on that was in a lot of these previous films?
There's got to be just reverence for domain, right?
Yes.
I don't know if it's vehicle
daddy's
specific.
domain, you're right.
It's not just vehicles in general, but if it's your vehicle, if it's a part of
it's
my property. It's my homestead. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
We see Val Kilmer and Ashley Judd are dating.
His dick works.
Or their husband and wife, I think.
He's got a hot babe wife, Ashley Judd.
While their relationship is sexy, it's also strained. Kilmer has anger issues. Ashley Judd keeps asking too many questions, I guess.
He's a bad
of course,
dad.
It's always work related. He's a bad dad.
He wakes the baby. He's not being a good dad, literally, and he's also, we learn, gambling. And that's a big bad dad thing, which is like a dad should provide. A dad can do what he wants without consulting his family, but that's only under the understanding that he is a good dad.
You can't want other things. You gotta want family or work. That's the two things.
Yeah, Tony Soprano, he brings home the bacon, right? And so she doesn't ask any questions. The whole family doesn't ask any. That's the rule. Dads don't talk about work, and in exchange, dads provide. That's the deal. That's the deal, creating.
And that's enough.
Yeah, and that's been that's been rooted in this culture since fucking the days of Mad Men. That's the whole idea.
Yeah.
And
he's even goes back farther than that.
Yeah, but he's broken the deal is what they're showing. He's broken that deal.
And I love that there's basically this, it's just huge Michael Mann energy. There's back-to-back scenes, I think, at this point where it's just like a wife or a girlfriend is like, I made us dinner. And it's like, but we had plans. And our daddy is like, what do you want from me? I love you, baby, but you're killing me.
Yeah, this movie is so high profile that they got Ashley Judd to essentially sit on the bench the whole movie. And I was like, you have Ashley Judd. Have her do the robbery. Jesus fucking Christ. It's Ashley Judd. Like, she's amazing. I just watched Bug, and I was like, holy shit, Ashley Judd, you're great. She usually does gets involved. She does action and thriller and stuff.
No, she's this
one
is
she's
a
in the
dad
back
movie,
seat.
dude.
She's just
This
waiting
is
for the
dad
dudes to do stuff. And I was like, come on.
That's right.
You had Natalie
That's-
Portman. I mean, they didn't know they had Natalie
They
Portman
didn't
at the
know.
time, but yeah,
Natalie Portman was a baby.
yeah.
But yeah. Point is, it's if you're an actress in a dad movie, you're not really gonna get a huge role. That's the deal with dad movies,
and
That's
especially
right
like
on the list.
a guy crime movie. You're lucky if you make it out alive, which is what women are in peril in this movie.
Constantly by their own the people that they trust.
Yeah.
Very Michael Mann. But yeah, 30 minutes into this movie, De Niro has just been all business, basically a ghost like you referenced, but we get a scene where he meets a lady named 80 and basically lady with an E instead of an L.
Yes. Michael Mann is just like, well, my last name's Mann, so it can happen.
She
Tries to hit on De Niro, but he's too badass to notice. He's like, "What, you a fucking cop?" Like, why are you asking questions? He's just trying to be nice. And I think before this we get a little more of. I just want to note Pacino, workaholic. He's got to solve crimes. There's this idea that what he does is more important than being a father, right? Than being a dad. He's like, you wait at home. I'm out fucking solving murders. You want me to tell you later? He later says, I told you that when we hooked up, baby. That you have to share me. And so that's what Pacino has fully established. And I'm
in
work
fact, I would
daddy,
argue,
and you can't get in the way of my work.
I would actually argue one of the reasons, I think this is a classic movie. I think that some of the action sequences, like we wouldn't have the Dark Knight stuff if we didn't have like a sequence 2 hours into this movie.
Yeah.
But
the halfway point,
the
is
first
the bank
2
robbery.
hours of this movie is particularly redundant,
Yes.
I find.
This
Movie is not a great movie.
It's 3 hours long, and I really enjoyed it, but my one note is like, I don't know. Did it have to be 3 hours long?
Did it have to
an
be
epic?
like you really accomplish? Like we've already summed up basically what's going on in a life. We get a lot more details about like things are in motion.
Yeah.
But like the basic maneuvers of like where their relationship is at and stuff like that is basically set in stone from the get go.
Right. Half of this film, like a half hour in, everything's established, and then they just repeat it. I felt like I was their children having to hear the same fights over and over again. Like, it's like, I get it. Val, not great. Pacino, workaholic. De Niro doesn't have a social life. Got it. And then they just keep looping that concept. And it
kind of
Jesus
lures
Christ.
you in. I don't know. But Michael Mann, feel like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
But there's
It's a
this.
classic.
I want to get back to the De Niro love
De Niro
sequence.
immediately has game, so he's too badass to notice. And once he does, he's just like, oh, I got game, and he asks her all sorts of bullshit about herself.
Jesus Christ!
She's immediately this woman who is, I don't know, 30 years younger than him, 20 years younger than him, is like, I'm gonna fuck you because you are asking me about myself. He takes her back to, I think, his place or her place, I forget which. And he keeps asking her the who, what, where, all the info, and then his dick
That's
works.
the thing.
And then he leaves.
It's like an AI wrote it. You know? It's like they laugh at each other's jokes that I dare you to find and explain to me what is funny. Like,
no,
what
they
are
just
the
want to fuck
jokes?
each other.
There's just like, where are you living? I like it here.
Have you ever been?
What?
Have you ever been a third wheel before? I have, with two people who want to fuck, where it's like you go out with a friend and then that friend meets someone. The conversation you witness as a third wheel of two people who want to fuck is some of the worst conversations you'll ever hear. Every joke is funnier.
Yeah.
Everything's more interesting
Every
because those people
joke is funny.
They just want to lock
just want to
genitals.
signal to each other, I'm digging this. They don't care. It's it's one of
We've
the
all-
things about romance that we all kind of
we've all been on
agree
both
is
sides.
like not ideal, but everyone just kind of goes with it because it makes our species work and all that.
I would contend people who are in love are the most irritating people from the moment they meet to their fucking wedding. That's all. To like, oh, we're gonna do this theme, and we're all gonna do this, and everybody has to dance and do this shit. It's like you just are exhausting from beginning to end.
God. The fact that I agree with you so much really shows that we are the ones to do this podcast.
I know.
we're just normal men.
Oh yeah.
Just innocent men. You know, at the end of this thing, they fuck. But he has to leave in the night. That's important.
Yeah, he's gotta get out. He proved his dick
crime.
worked. He's like, here's my dick, and now I'm good. I asked you questions. I listened. I gave you the dick, and now I'm going. And I think she's okay with it too, and it is a fair deal.
I mean, I just like that he's just like, baby, I can't. I got crime to do.
I got crime.
Yeah. But we cut back to another sequence that I want to point out is a Pacino one. It's important that his tactics, Pacino's tactics, they become a little less daddy and more like, I guess what we would say, stereotypical bad dad. Because when interrogations like fail in this movie for Pacino, it just turns into yelling. Like
Are we talking about the informant guy?
Give me all you got.
Yeah. When he
just starts.
Don't waste my motherfucking time, because dads
he's just
don't like having
wild.
their time wasted.
He
Here's the
starts
thing.
to sing over his perp like he's just a whirlwind.
Here's the thing. He doesn't respect him because he's an informant. And this is what goes on is
He's a
that
snitch.
again, dads like quiet. Don't open your fucking mouth. And that means Kevin Durant singing into Lee Tend to Yuma all the way to daddies don't like rats. Even Pacino, whenever they're talking to rats, they're like, fuck you, you piece of shit rat that we need. And like, that's the funny thing. The cops don't like, the cops get people to rat, and then they're like, fuck you, you fucking rat, you suck because you're a fucking rat. But they're the cops. It's very funny because the idea is no one likes a rat, not even the cops, because it goes against the honor of the system. It's literally don't talk, be quiet. It's all the daddy things that they hate. And this scene is him like being antagonistic because he doesn't respect him. He's a rat.
Because he doesn't respect. He doesn't. You're not a dad. A good dad, I guess. And it definitely contrasts against the kind of, criminal element, the De Niro's team and De Niro himself. Yeah. Their workmanlike calm is definitely, Pacino has no chill. Oh yeah. And they're drawing apart. That line and saying that's kind of like what makes it kind of neo heist kind of film is that it's like usually it's the villains who are unhinged, and when everyone's an anti-hero, what does that mean?
They're doing it's very similar to 3:10 to Yuma in that they want to show this kind of moral gray area in this larger code. Later in the film, not to skip ahead, there's literally a part where they meet and he's like, you do what I do, I do what I do. Cops and robbers. It's the exact same situation as 3:10 to Yuma. Yuma, you're the crime guy, I'm the cop guy. We're part of that system, and the system is key. It's the rules. It's the thing you respect. And so they do the thing where it's like who's good, who's bad. This movie, it's a little more clear cut where you're like, it's De Niro. He's the bad guy, but it's still all part of that, that system. We then meet Fichtner, who's Slick Wall Street guy, and I immediately was like, he's dishonorable. He will be punished because he is worse. He's
a money launderer.
Yeah,
right?
He's worse than all of them because he's a big city guy. He's like the railroad people in 3:10 to Yuma. We don't like him. He's the bureaucrat. He's Wall Street, big city man. He's going to get murdered and punished. No honor.
We get another scene with Tom Noonan, who is a science man. He's basically a hacker.
Yeah.
This is just a box I want to check for the daddy list, the daddy code. He talks about Wi-Fi. It's basically magic, but point is, it will be useful to De Niro for the next heist. That's one of the things that this movie is actually really good. It drops information, and it's almost like you don't even know what the information is for. It's just like two yak-yaks talking, and then later in the movie you go, oh, that's how they did. That's what the whole point of that scene was.
Right.
That's how they got away from the cops that one time.
It's the same when they're
magic.
Talking,
they used the whole
When they were talking about the bonds or the stocks, I was like, I don't know what they're saying, but I'm riveted. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but
they're
I mean,
talking
like,
about
something's
money
happening.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Daddies
one thing
love
these
money
movies-
stuff. They love the stock market.
And they
Everything.
love science stuff.
Yeah.
And one thing that these movies do seem to share, like you were mentioning, kind of is the humanization of the bad guys.
Yeah.
Like, often it's the human element that the good guys don't have. De Niro talks, like, for example, in this movie, De Niro talks out Kilmer's marital problems with him like a
About to
friend.
say, yeah, he calls.
But
He's on.
Pacino has problems communicating with his own wife. So it's kind of like their point counterpoint, you know?
Yeah, De Niro is such a daddy, and Kilmer is such a failure as a daddy that De Niro has to dad for him. He calls Ashley Judd. He's like, he's at my place. He's sleeping it off. He starts negotiating later when he realizes she's cheating on him with fucking Hank Azaria, who is America's other guy. And he's managing Kilmer's marriage. He basically takes her aside and goes, "You give him one more shot, and if he fails, I'll help you leave myself." He is managing their family because he doesn't have it for himself,
and
because he knows that you got to pick one: work dad or family dad.
You got, no attachments, as he says.
Yeah.
And De Niro kind of, like, this is the only time that De Niro really actually brings the violence, except when he's doing his job daddy. He doesn't bring his violence into anything that would be home daddy, but he's smashing some coat hangers and stuff, and it's not nearly as crazy as Al Pacino, and it's where you see that they're similar, but it, of course, comes to pass when it's clear she's someone else. You, Ashley Judd, broke the code. Kilmer's trying.
Yeah.
But the reality is De Niro is trying to pick up pieces of something that's already shattered. And they both were kind of complacent in its destruction, which is also true about Pacino. So everyone's just, again, moving that boulder up that hill.
Yeah.
So even if De Niro's a good guy, they both clearly have anger issues, and surprisingly, that's not the point. It's about kind of the moral gray area is what this movie is, like 3:10 to Yuma. But it's just interesting to me that's not, like, you see a scene where he's just like, "Oh, you're overacting," multiple times, and it's not exactly what the movie cares to talk about.
Honestly, this little arc, what it wraps up with is reverence for the larger system, because spoilers at the very end, Ashley Judd, who hates Val Kilmer and is cheating on him, the marriage isn't working, it essentially saves him from the cops, because fuck the cops, she ain't a rat. Rats, we don't like
she ain't a rat
snitches.
either.
She doesn't talk. She keeps her fucking mouth shut. So, like, above all else, she's not gonna, even though it'd be easier for her at that point to turn in Val Kilmer, who she's not really that into, she's not gonna rat him out. Snitches get stitches. So, like,
stitches.
There's that. And so we get that honor. We also get, going back, William Fichtner does this dishonorable thing, right? He decides to kill De Niro because he thinks that'll be easier, which it's not. It's not easier.
We get a new sequence in the movie, or like a new character, because this is a huge ensemble, right? So they're constantly throwing things at us.
Yeah.
But we get this new one that is mainly a kind of this little, run that is about how the system fails you. So basically we get the Dennis Haysbert kind of thing. If you don't know that actor, he played Pedro in the Major League film franchise. And he is out on parole, and he gets a job in a kitchen. But his manager is like, "Look, here's the deal. I'm going to get 25% of your paycheck. And if you do anything that I don't like, I'm going to lie to your parole officer and send you back to prison, basically. I'm going to use you like a slave."
We don't like the bosses. And it's the Fight Club of it all, right? He's a fucking cog. He's working for the man. Dads don't like this.
And so eventually this man returns to a life of crime, because the system is rigged and corrupt. And that's why we're allowed to feel sympathy for thieves. Right. That is one of the core principles of this movie, and a core daddy philosophy, that authority doesn't necessarily mean integrity.
Yes.
And often it's that libertarian ethos where
fucking
it's like,
his boss, Bud
fuck
Cort,
the system.
He's breaking the rules. He's breaking the rules. You know? Like he has no honor. Again, it's all about these men who who are in charge, who are the big city money rich guys who have no honor who keep the little guy down. So what's a man to do but to turn to a life of crime, steal from the bank, and that's more honorable than what these other guys are doing.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about the next sequence, which is Pacino's sequence where he's talking to yet another, informant. And it's just how unhinged he is in this movie. He's just like a fucking enormous golden retriever the whole time. He's just like the biggest dick in the room, just swagging his tail, just slamming things around, chewing his gum, slobbering all over the place.
Literally was waiting for him to whip out his dick and slap another cop with it.
just all movement, just orbiting around everybody, threatening people, demanding things.
People know what we mean when we say it's Al Pacino at an 11. It's full Al Pacino. He got all of the Al Pacino.
Tell me what I want to know, motherfucker.
Yeah.
It's just like, you are out of control.
Yeah.
You'll get killed while taking out your doggy. He's just like, who says this? Who is this person?
Al Pacino
You're not real.
does.
That's Al Pacino, baby. We get De Niro and his men are betrayed by the guy that they.
He goes to a parking lot
with.
A parking lot that might as well say get murdered here. Like that parking lot only exists to be murdered in. And this is he not only William Fichtner not only orders his death, but he does it in a dishonorable way. He tries to shoot him in the back. De Niro outsmarts him. He has Val Kilmer there. He's clever. Mm-hmm. They were dishonorable because he's a slick Wall Street type. And fucking De Niro saw him immediately.
De Niro had a plan, and that plan, bared fruit.
He calls him, and he's like, "I'm gonna kill you." And then he goes out to dinner with his family.
Right. I love it because De Niro has that quiet rage. He's like, I'm talking to an empty telephone because the guy on the other side is a dead man.
It's a funny threat because he has to like walk him through it because he's like, I don't know what that means. And honestly, neither did I. It's like De Niro should have hung up and been like, not my best threat. Not my best.
My best threat. I have to explain it after. Yeah. Empty telephone isn't enough. But everyone is basically trying to scare everyone into what they're doing and
He's
doing
talking
what they
to
want.
His men afterwards, like, you get it, right? If I said that to you, you'd understand.
Oh, sure, boss.
Sure, boss. Yeah, it was him. He was the problem.
Yeah, you have the best analogies.
Yeah. And so
presumably this is the way the world works, just everyone's scaring each other into doing what they want.
Yeah, they have a dinner to celebrate their dicks working. Their kids are there, their wives, Danny Trejo not invited. Again, real weird that they just ice him out of their little group. I'm like, what the fuck, guys? It's Danny Trejo.
Yeah, it makes sense that he betrayed you. You're a dick to him.
You're a dick. You don't hang out with him after work. You hang out with each other. You have your own little clique. And we're daddies. We got kids. We got wives. We got guns.
We check in with the guy who killed the cop in the first heist.
Yep,
And he's with a prostitute, and he's got a swastika on his chest.
Yeah,
and he kills her.
They're like, all right, we want you to know his dick works, because the sex worker is like, I loved this sex. And then Nazi kills her.
She's just saying that.
Yeah, that's true. He is literally
true.
paying her to, yes. But they want to make him super dishonorable. So the women are in peril at his hand. So he is a hat on a hat. He's a lot of stuff. I was like, wait, he's also a serial killer? He's a bank robbing serial killer?
Nazi bank robber.
Pick one, man. Pick one.
It's just basic like Here Be Monsters shit.
Yeah, just too much crime. How do you juggle that,
Well, Michael Mann is pretty much a blunt instrument, but I think his impulse is absolutely correct because in this point in the movie, we do need to show the worst of the worst so we can draw lines in the sand with our anti-heroes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I mean, this is what they're showing because the next thing we see is all the cops hanging out proving that their dicks work. They're hanging out with all their wives, having a great time, and they get called away for the sex worker who's dead. But like it's supposed to reflect each other, right? The criminals hanging out with their families, cops hanging out. They're both two sides of the same coin. They're part of the system, whereas this guy who killed this woman is an anomaly. He's bad. He's dishonorable, just like William Fichtner, who he teams up with. Like his
world is black and white, but
those are
he doesn't
the real
live
bad
in this
guys.
world.
over there with
but
Bud
that's
Cort.
what the world
you
is.
know?
Yeah, it's
all
yeah.
these are the men without honor.
In order to kind of, and I think it's designed to build that system of saying like, well, who's honorable, Pacino or De Niro?
Right.
And that this movie is kind of like, well, neither and both. But Pacino, so yeah, he's interrupted. Baby, I gotta go to work. And I think there's an important part when we get to the crime scene with the mother of the prostitute, which is that Pacino has to stop her from seeing her dead daughter.
He uses the power of dad hug.
Yeah, for you see, women's do not see the horror. The innocence must be protected. And even though he was just looking over the body just a second ago, Pacino was like, let me see the book. Oh, that's nice. And he's like pretty cavalier about seeing death in general. He's seen it 1,000 times. But the idea that a mother seeing her dead daughter, that goes too far. And that's a pretty daddy trope, right?
Oh, for sure.
That, I will insulate this blast radius.
It's also
so
like
it doesn't touch the innocent.
It definitely is like I know people who worked in ER. I know people who were EMTs. There's definitely this level of they're like, yeah, I've seen death more than a serial killer. And I'm so numb to it, but they know, I think somewhere in their training, they know that doesn't mean other people are, and to not like, to not talk about it too much. Like I get it, but you're right. It's very daddy, right? Dads cover the faces while they look at the horror.
Which is, like, I don't know. Everyone can kind of come to their own conclusion about that. But I mean, I just don't think it doesn't take away grief. I guess it does. She won't have that image of her daughter, and that might save her something, but she's eventually going to see. She has to, verify the body or whatnot. Like, it's not like you're doing anything other than presenting yourself as a person who would do this kind of thing. It's, once again, the perception of you as a man.
It's establishing the next thing where he says to his wife, he goes home and he says, I got to hold on to my angst. It makes me sharp. I got to preserve it, which is a big dad thing. Dads don't share their feelings. They're quiet. You got to be quiet. You got to hold that pain in until you punch a movie theater usher out of the blue. That's what it is. Dads, you don't share. You hide. You shelter the others from the pain, and you absorb it like a tank until you explode. And that goes
until you explode like a horse in 3:10 to Yuma.
I was about to say it goes back to 3:10 to Yuma. Dads, you have to earn their feelings. You have to earn their personal stories. They keep it inside of them, tucked deep inside, until you prove you have enough honor for them to share just a fucking fraction.
That's the daddy covenant, baby. And I love that there is actually some back and forth. Like, Michael Mann doesn't always just kind of fridge the ladies. This one, she actually is like, I just want you to spend some time with us like a normal person. And he's just, I need to live this way. Like, he's just my job. And I love how she responds to that. She's like, well, I guess I can't. What I hate the most is I can't cut loose of you because apparently he's so much man. She needs to have him.
Right.
But we get like 3 scenes in a row like this.
Dennis
Haysbert has that scene with his wife. De Niro has that scene with 80. It's all scenes where women are it's basically the man going, I gotta go, and they're like, why are you with me? It's crazy how. It's not just that there's redundancy of beats per character, but per character there are nuances, and that's important, and that's kind of like the power of this kind of movie, but it's all very occupied with the same stuff. You do get a lot of repetition with like the character types, guys who can't get in touch with their feelings, for example, like you mentioned. Something that also speaks to me as a dad is the surveillance scenes, Dave.
Oh, yeah.
Like having a bunch of monitors in front of you with camera displays. Like, that's pretty universal dad, right? It's not exclusive dad, but it's definitely like, I'm in control of this situation.
I think we talked about this at one point. Dads love gadgets.
We also love tech stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is gadgets. Cops have the ultimate gadgets, and so do thieves. They use all sorts of dildos to get into safes and like that. So like this is like catnip, you know? It's like, ooh, look at you. They have all this stuff, and they're using their stuff to watch their stuff.
I was drooling and licking the screen during the sequence.
And how does he blow their cover? To blow the stake out? Because a cop makes noise. Because you got to be quiet.
Stumble.
Got to be quiet. And it
got to be quiet.
Like
also shows that we're dealing with highly observant and clever daddies.
Because like a deer in the woods, De Niro hears this one noise that could have been anything. And he's just like, they're onto us. They've tapped our phones. We're going. Yeah. He concludes correctly that the LAPD is 100%. They know who they are. It's amazing because dads have to be careful.
Sound. Yeah.
From a small sound, that's all it takes. Because dads are careful.
It could have been a cat.
Yeah, could have been so many things.
Could have been two cats.
He's like, that truck filled with the LAPD. Let's go. They know who we are. And then he takes a vote to see who's going to, are we still going to do the robbery because dads love America and democracy. And he even tells Tom Sizemore, you need to get out of this. And Tom Sizemore is like, no. I'm staying. And this is the job dad versus family dad, right? Because Sizemore, they kind of establish as he's a pretty good, he's kind of like, he's made enough money and he has a good family that he's like, you can stop being job dad now. You can just be family dad. He says, you got property, you got stuff, get out. And Sizemore refuses it.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know what I would do if I didn't have this.
Yeah.
You know, which is the classic dad dilemma. He's like,
he's a workaholic.
I don't know what I am. If I'm not a knight and I don't have a sword, what am I?
Yeah.
And, you know, that's a whole series of therapy right there. You know what else dads like?
Great Hank Azaria. So he pushes him around because Hank Azaria is a fancy boy, no honor, and a rat. He's a rat. Again,
he is.
They're using him, and they're still like, you suck.
He's like, fuck you.
Fuck you for working with us.
I have more respect for the murderer.
Yeah. He's like, we are pushing you into working with us to rat on this guy whose fucking wife you're nailing, who would kill you if he knew what was happening. And also, fuck you. Fuck you for being a rat, for doing the thing that we are making you do, Hank Azaria. And yeah, she's got a great ass.
It's that line. It's that scene. He's just peering into the abyss this whole scene. His eyes are unhinged. I mean, if you've seen the GIF,
it's like a wild everything. Animal. Yeah.
But he actually has a line that's an under kind of quoted line in the scene where he's like, "When I think of women's asses, something comes over me."
Yeah.
And it's just like unnecessary for stuff. But also his dick works. Yeah. It's just like we got to remind everybody too much that these daddies be fucking.
Yeah, and like we talked about in Robin Hood, dads love ass play, you know? Love pegging.
Yes, they do. Pegging and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Little John, indeed. We get another scene at the shipyard where Pacino's like, oh, this crew's good. Because they thought they were coming here to scoop on a location, like they were going to find more information on the criminals. Turns out the crew and De Niro was just luring them out, and now they have photos of each of them, and so
they're casing them. They're investigating the cops because they're underestimated clever. And then De Niro gets kind of the skinny on Pacino, and they note how many divorces Pacino's had to show how good he is at his job, and it's like, yep. That's how it works.
That's how it works. He's like, he's got nothing else.
Yeah, he's got nothing else.
All he's got is us.
So this is where we get the title, which is like, is it worth the heat? I just got to note, this is not dad related, but he says it's worth the stretch, meaning like it's worth the jail time to De Niro.
Right.
My question is it though? Is killing cops and robbing a bank? I'm pretty sure that's it for him.
The punishment is
like it's worth. He's basically saying it's worth my life. But you know what dads do, Abe?
What do they do?
Stay the course.
Yeah, they do.
Just like in 3:10 to Yuma. Staying
Yeah.
the course.
Stay in the course. And he's like, if I have to put you away, I won't like it. But brother, you're going down.
Yeah.
That's another line from the scene. And what's also interesting about the scene is that, like, you get that titular line you talk about. I think it's, don't let yourself get attached to anything you're not willing to walk out on in 30 seconds flat if you feel the heat around the corner, which explains why De Niro has no attachments. He sees it as a discipline. It's something to strive for if you mean to be great, which is where him and Pacino are, like, simpatico. You know, like, they both agree with this. What they agree is a basic truth of the universe.
Yep.
And they have respect for each other because of that. So yeah,
The system.
you're a bad guy. I'm a good guy. We gotta, well, I do what I do best. I take scores. You do what you do best.
Yeah,
trying
this
to
is
stop guys like me.
Them in the diner. He pulls them over, which dads hate. He brings them to the diner, and they do a few things here. Yeah, they do. I don't know how to do anything else. Neither do I. We're cops and robbers. You got to do what you got to do. And then they also, because they respect each other, they talk about their personal lives. They earned that information. So he talks about his fucked up daughter and his wife, and they bond over it because they respect each other. They earned the information. He talks about his fucked up dream. They share their dreams with each other.
They talk about dreams
because it's like a slumber party. This conversation, because
De Niro's drowning in his.
Yeah.
Honestly, Pacino's dream is the terrifying
Yeah, it's
one.
a horror
like
movie.
They have black eyes and they just stare at me.
Yeah.
They just stare. They don't say anything. Just
And-
like, you're fucked up, man.
and they agree on the rules because they have respect for the overall system. They know family comes second.
Yeah.
We're work daddies, and we are working together essentially because of the larger system of cops and robbers. And Al Pacino says, listen, if you take an innocent life hostage, I will kill you. And De Niro says, okay, I will kill you to get away. And they're like, we got it. We know what our rules are. We're going to go play. Let's go play cops and robbers now.
Yeah. And while this conversation was going on, the crew dumps all their surveillance. This is the Tom Noonan thing. They use the hack, and all the bugs and shit the police put on him basically go dark suddenly. So De Niro wins again, and they're just too damn good. And that's like the first 2 hours of the movie, because then we get about 2 hours in, we get the final kind of, or the big robbery sequence of the movie.
He picks up the new guy because Danny Trejo can't get to it.
He doesn't show.
Because
He's a no-show.
dad's improvise. They think on his toes. They get the
They have
cook
backups.
who gets
Yeah.
to toss his boss around, which is dad fantasy. He gets to say, fuck my stupid job. I'm not a cog. I'm going to go rob a bank and die.
And die. Yeah, I'm going to die.
Can we jump right to the bank robbery?
Yeah, so basically it goes terribly immediately. Pacino's onto them. We don't know why yet. We're going to figure it out later. But they arrive at the robbery.
Yeah, they say we're here for the money, the bank's money, not your money. And very dad energy, he says, anybody feels sick or got heart trouble, lean against the wall. Because dads have heart trouble. And like that's important to know. It's like that is a dad concern. It's you have to go to the doctor for that shit. That is a very daddy concern, and that's to show that they're good people. Where they're like, listen, if you're having trouble, we're not trying to hurt anybody. We don't want to hurt civilians. We're here to stick it to the man. You love sticking it to the man.
Like, everyone on the criminal side basically shows their true colors in these sequences. Like, De Niro is not against shooting civilians, even though what you just said is true. They point that out, but they brush aside the fact that, like, multiple times when he's on the run,
He's just firing into crowds.
Just firing into crowds, and we do see shots of, like, people on the ground, like, clearly dead.
They should have gotten
Tom
out of the way.
Sizemore takes a child as a hostage.
Well, I wanted to note that because he breaks the rules. He takes a hostage. He is suddenly no honor. And the moment he picks up the child, I was like, he is dead. He's
of
dead.
course he is.
Yeah, they want
that's
they
the
want us
rules
to
of the
not.
game.
Yeah, they want us to not be sad that he dies. And so that is again they establish the rules. Al Pacino is like, if you take a hostage, I'm killing you. He broke the rules. He has no
Right,
honor.
and-
De Niro goes back for Val Kilmer to show that he has honor. You're right that he fires
Right.
into crowds, but I don't think the movie wants us to notice that.
That's why it's brushed aside.
Yeah.
It's shown kind of as reaction shots, and it's just there. He doesn't want you to not know, but Michael Mann is clearly doesn't make a scene out of it.
He wants
you
it to
know?
be more exciting, so he adds that. And I think even the cops are shooting into like crowds a little bit.
Yeah, it's wildly
Yeah. So,
irresponsible.
but Sizemore basically at the last minute he breaks the deal. He breaks the
He
deal.
breaks the deal, and Pacino shoots him. Makes that tough decision where he's like, I'm gonna, like I could hit the kid, but he turns out he's just too good.
Dads put kids and families in danger. They love it.
That's a trope we're starting to see.
Yeah.
If necessary, and it will be necessary.
Yeah, it will.
We see some of the fallout of the relationships as that kind of this sequence wanes. Where like the ex, we talked about the ex-con, the driver dies, and now he's on the news. His wife learns that he returned to a life of crime.
We see the family suffering. The job dad versus family dad. We're seeing the consequences and
The price.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the price. And now you have to ask the question, because for most people, you probably look at the time code and go, wait, this isn't the end of the movie. Fuck. And you have to ask, will they be brought down by their family dad or by work dad? Is their honor
Right.
in question? Because Tom Sizemore was brought down because of his honor. And so you start wondering,
What's the justice in the system?
what's going to threaten them? What part of their daddiness? Is it the principle of the system? Is it the rules? Is it their family?
De Niro takes Kilmer to a doctor. Once again, we have that surgery scene.
Jeremy Piven.
Yeah, and
mustache.
because he takes care of his own. And then he goes to Trejo's house, and we find out that they're set up by Zant, the money launderer, the fancy pants money guy.
And
the
women
guy-
are dead.
And yeah, everyone's dead. Because that's what happens to a snitch.
Yeah, his wife or girlfriend is dead, who we never see the face of. We just see her legs. That's her entire character, is this
Right.
dead body. And Trejo is just like, well, I don't want to live anymore. And De Niro's like, I don't know anything about your life. We didn't hang out. Anyway, I'm going to
We
shoot
didn't
you.
hang out. We didn't invite you to the party.
Yeah.
We probably should have. But we find out through the scene, and De Niro finds out it was the Nazi all along.
Yep.
The
Trejo-
Nazi turned them.
Yeah,
in.
Trejo opened his mouth. He gets punished. The Nazi, with teaming up with the slimeball fancy man.
Yep. Yeah. Basically, that's how the police could leverage Trejo, who wasn't a bad guy necessarily,
Right.
but they leveraged because they had my
but
wife. They were gonna send her home or whatever.
Right. Pacino finds out about the Nazi guy, right? Well, first, okay, so he kills the slime ball. He kills William Fichtner. And then Pacino shows up at that place, beats up Henry Rollins, who was supposed to protect William Fichtner, and literally calls him a rat fucker about the guy whose help they need. They're like, that scummy rat fucker, that Nazi
He's like
piece of
literally
shit.
helping the cops.
Yeah. And he beats up Henry Rollins for also being a rat fucker. And he's just like, fuck you, you fucking rats. Also, we need your help.
Yeah. Also, tell us what you need. Tell us what you know. And he's just gonna scream his way through that problem. That's how Pacino works in this movie. It's a wild ride, and it's also, again, I think we've talked about 3 different scenes where it had all of these things in them. It's just newly developed. It's just the stakes are even higher now.
Yeah.
De Niro also tries to along all this, now he knows the Nazi did it. He's kind of tracked it down. But before he's going to go try to kill the Nazi, De Niro tries to talk to Adie. And of course she's like, no, I saw on TV, you're a murderer. You're a liar. This is over. And De Niro's going against his own MO, which is never get attached. And he's like, but baby, come with me. I have all this money.
Yeah. He says you can leave, because he has honor. But and she first leaves, and then he grabs her and he hugs her so much that she forgives him.
That's
Al
the thing,
Pacino
is she just
heals that mother.
agrees. And they ellipse that. They kind of just hug, and you go, okay, that's the end of that scene.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna get into the scene later, or
she
I'll wait till
agrees,
later.
but
She agrees. She's
for the
fine.
rest of the film, it feels like I feel like once the ending happens, she's probably like, that was probably for the best. You know, I feel like if
she's like, I probably dodged a bullet
yeah,
here.
yeah, she probably agreed and then was going to regret it. But yeah, she agrees because she has very little personality. And now we get this moment, which is what we're setting up as De Niro. He's done. He's work daddied he's work daddied all the way to the bone. Like he's fucking done. He's spent his work daddy, and now he's like, I'm gonna be family daddy finally. And he knows you can't be both. So he's like, we're just gonna go and we're done. We have all this money.
Let's not that you're getting ahead of yourself.
I know,
wanna
but this
cut
is
back to
setting that
Pacino.
up. Yes.
Yeah. Let's talk about that in
Pacino
a bit,
because we
I
get
think
Xander Berkeley.
we need to set up Pacino because they go through the same thing at the same time. Pacino goes home to find that his wife doesn't even care about, like, I don't care what you were doing today. In fact, I don't care if you know that I'm cheating. Here's the guy that I was cheating
Xander Berkeley couldn't have picked a better fucking person to play this guy. And Xander Berkeley just goes, oh, fuck. Like, he did not know.
Yeah, he's like, oh shit.
This is a nightmare
Am
for
I going
him.
to die? Because Pacino will kill me.
Right. Can you imagine, like, being brought home, like, having sleeping with a lady and then finding this out? Al Pacino shows up with fucking wild eyes.
She's like,
be like, I'm fucked.
When he arrives, she's like, oh, you aren't even that angry. Like, she's goading him into, please do violence.
Yeah, Xander Berkeley knows, like, being very calm is what happens right before I get killed. Like,
so he's like, damn it, I shouldn't have.
She throws. I would have been so mad. I would have been like, you killed me, lady. Like, I can't fucking believe this.
I'm dead in 10 seconds.
All right,
yeah.
but you can fuck his wife. You know what you can't do, Abe? You can't watch sports on his TV. That is his thing. Reverence, you got to respect a dad's stuff. His car,
his property,
his horses,
his time,
yep.
his interests, like baseball.
Yeah,
you gotta respect that shit.
And so
but yeah, you fuck around on me, whatever.
He smashes
Her
the
argument
TV.
is a good argument, which is that the marriage has been over for a while, and now we have closure. And he's like, I never cheat on you.
He says, I say what I mean and I do what I say, because he's a straight shooter. God damn it.
And she's like, you never cared about us, though. And then we're at that standstill again, where it's like, yeah, this is over because they're not. Neither of them are moving on very obvious stuff, like how important am I to you?
Yep. So what we're seeing is it's kind of like it's poetry, Abe, because we have De Niro, who is work daddy to the point that he sacrificed his entire family daddy life, and now he is saying goodbye to work to be like, I'm going to be a family dad. And the flip side, the yin to his yang, is demolishing his family, his dad family life, because he was so much of a work daddy. He did not prioritize correctly. He did not do the thing that De Niro is doing, which is like you compartmentalize, you separate, you say, I'd one or the other. Pacino tried to have both, and it ruined him. And it seems like it also is ruining him, because I think this is around the time where Pacino also realizes, like, De Niro's getting away. He's not going to come back.
Yeah. We get this sequence where the police try to catch Kilmer through Ashley Judd, and as you mentioned, she doesn't snitch.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where it breaks for Pacino, because Pacino realizes this motherfucker's always one step ahead. There's too many dead ends. I'm calling it quits.
Yep. To quote him, bon voyage, motherfucker. You were good.
Right. And I kind of the last nail in the coffin, so to speak, is he goes home to find that Natalie Portman has attempted suicide.
Doesn't he go to a hotel? Like, I think he's out of the house.
He goes back because he's out of the house at this point. So he like returns his stuff and he realizes, like, I forget exactly.
I think
what's happening.
went. I feel like she went to him. Like, she went to the hotel is the implication.
She went to the So out of despair for her parents' fallout, she tries to attempt suicide, which really shows how fucked. Like, you can't do both.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to kill
they punish
children.
him. I would argue that it was probably something else. And what I mean by that is it's so two-dimensional to be like, where our family fell apart so hard that my daughter killed herself.
Right.
It's like, nah, I don't think you're that important to her. You're her stepfather.
I don't think so. But they didn't do any other work.
Yeah.
So you just have to assume.
She is there to be a prop. And then, like, we never see her again. She survives. And they're like, she's talking. We never see her. It doesn't matter. Her feelings don't matter. But yeah. And this is, this is the low point. He has failed at being a family daddy so hard that his stepdaughter is dying in a bathtub.
Right. And that's the point where they really choose to show us De Niro has this moment. He, like you were talking about, he's scot-free, they're on the road, and he basically just pulls to the side. He just gets off the highway.
Yeah.
And she doesn't know what's going on. She's like, what's going on? Because he
gets a phone call.
He gets a phone call to realize that, like,
they say the Nazi, the rat, he's at this hotel by the airport.
John Voight.
And I think he realizes, like, he's right there. He's on the way.
He could just do this real quick. Because you got to kill this Nazi.
You got to stay the course.
For the crew killed. And of course, this will be in his undoing, like you said. But it's this moment, I think, that Michael Mann chooses to do this because it's like, you know where it's going now. Like, you know that we saw it with Pacino. It's going to end terribly.
You have to finish the job. You have to get Russell Crowe to that train, even if it kills you. He has to see. He's like, I got one more. I'm about to clock out for good, but I got one little loose end in my job, and I want to do my job right because I am job daddy.
And even though it doesn't need to, everything is like, it's not going to bring anyone back. It sucks, but like, you can do it.
It's the tragedy of being a job daddy, the tragedy of having to stay the course to do your job. That's 310 to Yuma as well. He dies at the end because he's got to.
Exactly.
It's the principle of it. You can't rat on me. You can't double cross me. It's the system. It's the principle. He has to go there, and he has to kill this guy before he can be family dad. And of course, what the movie's saying is you can't have it both. You got to like. It's the same with fucking 310 to Yuma. He dies at the end. He fails ultimately. He doesn't come home to his family because he's got to finish the job. Dad, family dad, and work dad. They tragically collide.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, so he acts like room service. And he's pretty slick. I mean, sneaky De Niro is pretty cool to watch.
Oh, he's great. He's clever. He sets up the elevator so he can go back down. He pulls the fire alarm. He has a flashlight. He looks like security.
He does almost everything. Like, even his plan that is improv is like still complex and kind of prepared, but it's not enough, of course.
He's seen on camera. They call Al Pacino, who's in the hospital with his wife, with his stepdaughter who's tried to kill herself, and the wife is like, go on, you go play cops and robbers.
It's over.
I'll be fine here.
And there's one line I wanted to pull from that scene, which is Pacino saying, all I am is what I'm going after.
Yep.
And it's just like, because you're a fucking dog.
He accepts. His arc is he accepts, I can't be both. I'm going to be work dad. I failed as family dad.
I'm not going to change.
Yep, he makes the same decision, basically, that De Niro makes in reverse, which is De Niro saying, I'm done with work dad, and he's just like, all right, I'm done with family dad. That is a disaster. Now to just be work dad all the way.
Well, in the end, I think what the movie's saying is that they are one and the same, right? Because De Niro doesn't make that choice. He refutes it at the very moment.
He's trying to, but it gets him.
His nature will out. And so he blasts the Nazi away. And now the cops are on him, and we get like a 5 to 10 minute chase. At this point, like, I feel like we've talked about everything we need to talk about. He finds his way to Pacino, and we get that final scene at the kind of outside the airport runway where Pacino blasts De Niro real good.
Dads love trucks. Dad loves airplane. Big air dicks flying over them. The last thing they do is they hold hands for respect. Respect for the system. Cops and robbers together. The system worked.
Bromance achieved, holding each other's hands.
They should have kissed. Kiss, you cowards.
That would be great.
Yeah.
That would have been a great ending, because a bunch of dads would have been like, what?
Yeah.
What's going on? And it
Tongue
just says,
kiss.
heat.
Yeah, like
Heat.
yeah, heat.
Yeah, especially
You're
because
like,
Pacino.
yeah, heat.
I mean, I mentioned it earlier at the top of this podcast, but the way that Pacino kisses in this movie, he's just all lips, man. It's just very lippy kisses.
Lippy
I don't know
kisser.
what that means.
They
but
could have
if you
called
watch
this the
it,
lippy kisses.
you're gonna be a little bit turned off or on by how much lip there is. It's
Yeah.
just very lips, very lips. That's all I got. I feel like we should go to the smoking room.
Yeah,
right?
let's retire. Let's retire to
All
the
right.
smoking room. I just got to reiterate some stuff I said with 310 to Yuma. Violence bringing men together. They hold hands at the end.
Yeah, they do.
Dad's providing. Again, that's the whole thing, right? They're cops and robbers. It's about providing for your family, failing to provide for your family. I got to do shout out. Dads love silence. We don't like rats. Rats talk. No talking. You make a noise, you blow your cover, you blow the steak out. Silence. And then I want to talk about the idea of staying the course, which is part of the respect the principle of the thing. But 310 to Yuma, I realized it's all about staying the course, right? Master and Commander is a literal course they're staying on.
Oh, yeah.
He can't quit on his dad and the judge. In We Are Marshall, a plane crash killing the whole football team? No. We still have to have football, God damn it.
Football needs to happen. Yeah.
I didn't kill my wife, and I'm going to prove it, even if that means jumping off of this dam. Stay the course. You do your job. You do the thing. Doesn't matter.
Also,
You don't
the one
quit.
that you didn't mention, which is still actually a really good one, which is we also covered the American president. I'm going to lose this election because of this shit.
Yep.
God damn it, I gotta have a romance. So whatever genre it is, that's the fulfillment that we
Principle.
need to achieve.
You got to do the thing you were set out to do. Dads don't quit. You can't have a movie where they say, you know what? Let's not do this. I got to kill this man in the hotel. Yes, I know the cops are there. Yes, I know that it will end me. I got to do it. I got to finish the job. Finish the job.
Finish the job.
Yep.
Obviously we talked about guile and fights and violence only when necessary. Now these are cops and robbers. Violence is almost always necessary, but they do use kind of cleverness all the way through. In fact, a big aspect of this movie is about being underestimated, which is a huge daddy trope. The women are children and being a parent, dads provide. We talked about that. There isn't team building scenes, but there is a strong sense of the teams between the two main daddies being tightly knit and loyal and bonded already.
Women are in peril.
We know their dicks work. They're
Their dicks
sexually and
work.
physically powerful.
It's the first thing we know.
There's the sense of utilitarian code, although less so in this movie.
I think it's
because
the bigger system, the reverence, cops versus robbers. I got to do what I got to do. They literally say that.
That's but there isn't a crazy sense other than the Haysbert segment where it's that it shows that the system has failed him.
Yeah, I would
There's
argue
not a lot of effort trying to say that authority is flawed. It just says that there's just a true law that we kind of all have to obey.
There's the boss and the Wall Street guy. I think
True.
they represent the slimy, bigger, because America we love, but the middlemen we don't. The bosses, the managers. I do think the more gritty a movie gets, the less it adheres to that stuff. That you got to have a code stuff or the system, the reverence. This is a grittier heist film,
Yeah, I mean, this one is actually subverting a lot of that main dad trope, even though it's definitely doing a lot of the dad stuff and taking a lot of the assumptions that we kind of have been pointing out. It is also saying that these are intensely flawed characters, which is not always true. Like in 310 to Yuma, where Christian Bale becomes the Ulta daddy because he inspires someone to become better. Heat is not that type of movie. Heat ends with the tragedy of just following the dad path.
Right.
It doesn't mean that it doesn't love dad shit. It just means that they're like, hey, look. In fact, it's the most kind of anti-dad we've seen or covered so far.
Right.
In that, at least in its final maneuver, even though it's through and through making assumptions like women get fridged and stuff like that all the time. speaking of kind of the formal attributes of this movie, linear storytelling is once again.
Yep.
All this shit happens chronologically because
gotta
we don't
do
need
it.
that complex shit.
Yeah, and I also have to note again, I really want to go back and think about this. Feelings are earned. You earn
Feelings are earned, yeah.
feelings and personal stories from the dads. They don't give it up easily. You have to earn it. Usually,
I love that one.
through some sort of violence, respect, not even sex. Sex doesn't earn feelings for daddies.
Yeah.
If
And
anything, you get feelings taken away for that. And I don't know. Just keep silence. Keeping your mouth shut.
I was gonna say snitches get stitches.
Yeah, I think it's more. It can be more broad. It's just like keep your mouth shut.
Keep your mouth shut. We like the quiet.
Yeah,
And we will get violent if the quiet is broken, or I'll turn this car around.
Yep.
God damn it!
but he won't because he got to
that's-
stay the course.
You gotta stay the course, though. But the
There's a
real course
hierarchy, you know.
is. I mean, well, the real course is my leadership is beyond reproach. You know,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
You can't.
The rules.
I say we're going to Disneyland. We're going to Disneyland. I say we're not going to Disneyland.
Right.
We're not going to Disneyland.
Over the course is the rules, right? You respect the rules. We talked about this throughout, which is like if you break the rules, then the dad is allowed to cancel the plans.
Yes, because.
That happens in this.
They make quick decisions. They can improv.
Yeah, and
'cause they're
this
good
he's like,
decision-makers.
do we want to not do this? You know, it's that's how it goes. It's like the rules above all else.
And in this one, and in Heat, you get killed. So, really, Heat of all the movies, they're the ones that are like, "Don't be dad. Don't try to have it all." You know,
It's a tragedy dad film, right? Not all
Yes.
dad films are going to be about how great it is to be a dad. It's about the complexities of the rules of being a dad and exploring those ideas. So, like,
yeah,
it's still about the rules of dad, but it's playing with those rules and talking about how hard it is to be a work dad and a family dad.
and sometimes Natalie Portman offs herself because you're a bad dad.
Yeah. Who during this era was like daughter. Like,
Yeah,
such daughter.
just like man who is important. You are daughter.
Yeah, you are daughter. Your daughter
That's
to
right.
assassins. She's in Mars Attacks, right? She's also the president's daughter.
daughter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's the ultimate daughter.
At this age,
Yeah.
you can do better.
You need a daughter?
Uh,
Yeah, you got Natalie Portman.
It's 1995, baby.
Michael Mann was like, "You have man in your name too. That's a point.
Point
We
for
love
me.
it."
I love Michael Mann just
I
sitting
got
at home
the,
counting points.
The Edie is played by Amy Brenneman. Man, right there in the
You're
name.
really
He's like,
and
I love
also,
it.
there's Tom Sizemore.
More size. Yeah, that's a dad
Henry
name.
Rollins, which looks like rolling, which is like staying the course.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you know. Never mind. There's two. This is a dumb bit, but that kind of signals. That's like that's it. I think that's it.
Yeah, for now.
We did it, dude. That's episode 8 of
We
Inside
got-
Dads.
Yeah, we got inside these dads.
We're probably going to take a few months break, but we'll probably return.
Oh yeah,
know?
we'll crack open these dads again. Don't you worry.
There's so much to cover. We
There's
haven't
so much.
we
I mean,
barely dipped into
Braveheart.
James Mangold.
We got Braveheart is probably going to have to happen.
Braveheart's probably going to happen.
There's we talked about some, and I forget
We need
now.
more Jack Ryans on this list.
Yeah, Jack Ryan's. I still propose an entire batch of submarine movies. All 4
we
submarines.
should just do submarine movies.
Yeah.
A month of
a
submarine
month
movies.
of submarine movies.
We can do it. There's
What
at
is
least
a
4
submarine-
big submarine
A submarine
movies.
movie is a bunch of dads and a big steel dick. Like
Yeah.
that is, and they're fighting other dicks with other dads in them.
Using dicks.
Using dicks. Yeah, little dicks that shoot out of the big
It's
dicks.
dicks all the way down.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, we haven't even talked about Alex Cross yet.
Alex Cross. We haven't.
Murder mysteries.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and Morgan Freeman has been underrepresented so far.
We haven't talked about horror.
horror. Yeah,
What
dad
lies
horror.
beneath?
Yeah, I think that's the ultimate dad horror because that's about the ultimate dad. Like, what's more horrific than Harrison Ford, spoilers, not being a good daddy? Being
I know.
evil. That's like every dad's nightmare. Is like,
We
what
haven't
if
talked
Harrison
about The
Ford...
Edge.
The Edge. Oh, Divorce Dad, the movie. Fuck, The Edge. Oh my God. Eddie Mamet,
fuck.
right? So much Mamet is like...
So much Mammoth, yeah. It's true.
Glengarry
It's
Glen
just
Ross,
everywhere.
man.
We haven't talked about sentimental dads as much. I mean, we did
Yeah.
cover The Judge and We Are Marshall, but like, there's Good Will Hunting's right there.
Goodwill
you know?
Hunting. Holy shit.
Holy shit, dude. There's too much.
There's too
I can't
many.
deal with it. I have to settle down, or I'm going to podcast all over the place.
Uh-huh.
Hey, Dave,
Yeah.
what? Tell people about where they can find more of you.
I have a podcast network called Gamefully Unemployed, GAMEFULLY, Unemployed. We have a Patreon, which is patreon.com/gamefully unemployed. But you can Google us. We're on like wherever you get your podcasts. We do like We Just Watched and Hypecast, which are movie podcasts, mostly movie stuff. We watch movies every Friday night with our patrons as well. And for $5 a month, you get access to a bunch of our other podcasts. Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Muller's a Maniac, Star Trek: The Next Future, and Spiel Boys, which we do with the Small Beans. So check that out. Why don't you?
Yeah. And I wouldn't be doing my due diligence if I didn't say patreon.com/smallbeans. If you're watching this on the free feed or just like your Apple, podcasts or, Podbean or Spotify or wherever you're listening to
Pod
this,
Dude.
you are not
Cast
getting
Monster.
all the good shit for $5. You can get a bunch of bonus episodes, a bunch of shows that you might not even be aware that exist. And also you're going to get updates about all things Bean over at the Small Beans, including we're still making a movie. The strike is on. This is, still September when we're recording this episode. When this episode comes out, it might be over actually, but as of this time, it is not, so it's a little slow going. But when that ends, we are going to rev up and show you production, stills, have production diaries, talk about basically what it's like to make a movie, and completely transparently in front of you. All that stuff just for $5 a month. So anyway, check that out if you are
Check
interested.
it out.
That's it. We'll see you next time. The dad, the dad just takes us.
Yeah.
And we just have to podcast about it.
We'll
love doing this show.
We'll ride the dad. Let's ride
show
the
is-
dad.
This show, of all the shows I think we do because of the content, I look forward to watching every single one of these movies.
Oh, yeah. It's good
kinda
dad
weird.
fun. I love it all.
Yeah. Like, I'm always like, I don't have to watch a movie. I get to watch a movie.
Oh, yeah. I have
It's
not
just so weird.
every single dad film. I'm like, oh, Heat? Yes, sure. I'll watch Heat.
I'll watch fucking Heat.
Yeah,
Prince
Robin,
of Thieves.
yeah, Robin Hood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's an episode. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
That's it.
May you all get inside of a dad.